Okay? While we are waiting siguro sa iba, let's start. Walkthrough lang tayo sa mga modules nyo. Wait. Visible ba yung yung screen?
Po, sir.
Okay. So, yung module natin for this week and then for next week, we have module 4, illustrating the SAS, ASA, and SSS congruence postulates. And then yung module 5, we have solving corresponding parts of congruent triangles. And our module 6, we have proving two triangles are congruent. Maybe we cannot discuss everything here, pero tignan natin yung mga important lang na mga concepts na kailangan natin sa pagsagot ng questions sa worksheet niyo. And then of course, sa worksheet niyo, you have there yung part 1, questions about illustrating the SAS, the ASA, and SSS congruence postulates from your module 4. And then part B, identify me. So there are 3 columns there. The first column, figures ng mga triangles. And then sa second column, you have there, you need to provide the additional corresponding parts to make the two triangles congruent by ASA, SAS, and SSS. And then, on the third column, you are going to name the triangle based on the corresponding parts. So, try to remember that naming the triangle should be according to corresponding parts. So, dapat yung congruent na angle, doon di kayo mag-start sa corresponding niya na angle. Same with the side. And then, sa part C, that's your module 5, solving corresponding parts of congruent triangles. So here, we're going to show some computations on how to find the missing side given the measurements, and then some expressions, yung mga 3x plus 25, and so on and so forth. And lastly, we have your module 6. Yes, your module 6 about proving. Okay? Here, we're going to use now the different concepts that you have learned from the two modules, namely module 4 and module 5. Yung mga definitions, yung mga postulates, yung mga theorems. And be reminded, feel free to ask any questions or clarifications if you can follow our discussion. Okay? Is that clear?
Yes po, sir.
Okay. Then, let's start. So, as of now, 14 pa lang kayo. Where are the others? Punta tayo dito sa... Okay, once again, good morning and welcome to our online math assistance class.
Good morning po, sir.
Yes, thank you. And the first topic that we're going to discuss is about illustrating the SAS, the ASA, and the SSS congruence postulates. I bet you have already read your modules. So what to expect? So after going through this discussion, or after this discussion maybe, the first objective, you should be able to identify included side and included angle. These are two concepts that you need to learn on how to identify the included side and the included angle. And then, number 2, you should be able to determine the minimum requirements needed for congruent triangles. Okay, before we can say that the two triangles are congruent. And then, number 3, you should be able to illustrate the angle side, or the SAS, the angle side angle, or the ASA, and the side or SSS congruence postulates. And lastly, number 4, you should be able to demonstrate creativity in testing triangle congruence using concrete objects, meaning in real life settings. Well, let's see if we can go deeper sa number 4. Okay, so first and foremost, let us discuss first what is included angle. So when we say included angle, Kalex, please read.
Included angle is the angle between two sides of a triangle.
Yes. So the included angle is the angle between two sides of a triangle. Take note of the word between. The key word there is between two sides of a triangle. So let's have here this one. We have here triangle SON or triangle SON. So angle S here is the included angle between line segment SN and line segment SO. Wait lang. Merong nag-request. Again, angle S here. Tignan niyo yung yung pointer doon sa screen niyo. We have angle S here. Let me have pen. So angle S here, eto, is the included angle between line segment SN and line segment SO. Meaning, well, we can say side SN, the side here, this side, and then this side, SO. So the included angle is the angle S. Ang nasa gitna ng dalawang sides na 'yan. That is what we mean by included angle. Do you follow?
Yes po, sir.
Okay? And angle O here is the included angle between here. Let's have another color. So angle O here is the included angle between side SO or line segment SO and line segment ON. Take note ON or NO, that's still the same. Okay? Pwede namang magkapalitan yung dalawang letters. And lastly, we have angle N. So the angle N here is the included angle between side SN here and okay, ON or NO. So that is how we're going to determine the included angle between two sides. Understood?
Yes po, sir.
Okay? And then let's proceed to included side. Okay? Anybody who can read what is included side? Anyone? Let's have Althea. Althea, please read. Or Carlo. Let's have Carlo.
Included side is the side common to two angles of a triangle.
Yes. So when we say included side, it is the side common to two angles of a triangle. This time naman, two angles of a triangle. Nasa pagitan sa ng dalawang angles. Let me draw another triangle here. Okay? And then, let's name this triangle. Let's just copy. So, side SO is the included side between angle S and angle O. So, we have here angle S and angle O. And the side between the two angles here is this one. Here. Okay? Eto. So, side SO is the included side between two angles, angle O and angle S. Then, side ON is the included side between angle O and angle N. So, we have here angle O and angle N. So, the included side is side ON. And lastly, we have side SN. Side SN here is the included side between two angles, angle S and angle N. So meaning we have side SN. So here earlier we have side SO or OS. Are you following?
Yes po, sir.
Okay. So do you have any question or clarification regarding included angle and then included side? If there's none, maybe we can move on to our next topic. Is everything clear? Nasusundan?
Opo, sir.
Okay. Then let's move on to our next topic, postulate. So recall that postulate axioms actually is one of the categories under the mathematical systems, right? Recall we have undefined terms, defined terms, axioms, postulates, and the last one we have theorems, right? Can you still recall from our last discussion, last 2 weeks? Okay.
Yes po.
So when we say postulate, please read. Chariza.
A postulate is a statement taken to be true without proof. Congruence of size is shown with little hatch mark.
Okay. So just like what we discussed last time, when we say postulate, it is a statement taken to be true without proof. In other words, it is accepted without proof. Okay? Meaning it's already a fact. We need not to prove whether it is true or not because it is already an accepted fact. Okay? For example, just like we discussed last time, um, we need at least 2 points to determine a line, right? So if we only have 1 point, we cannot draw a line. So we need at least 2 points. So that is a postulate. It is already an accepted statement or fact, and we need not to prove it anymore. So that is what we meant by postulate. A statement taken to be true without proof. And one of the postulates that you need to remember when proving triangles na kailangan nyo sa pag-prove na ang triangle ay congruent is the what we call SAS. Okay? So what is SAS congruence postulate? Please read, Merzel.
The SAS congruent postulate tells us that if two sides and an included angle of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two sides and the included angle of another triangle, then two sides are congruent.
Two triangles are congruent. Okay? So let's discuss this by thought. If we're going to read these whole statements, I think it's quite difficult for you to grasp the meaning. So, the SAS congruence postulate. So, the SAS congruence postulate tells us that kung dalawang sides na yun ng triangle at ang isang included angle ng isang triangle are congruent to the corresponding two sides and the included angle of another triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. Well, anyway, you will have a better understanding if we're going to look at the figure 1. Okay? So observe the markings here. This side, line segment AM or MA corresponds to, let me write it here. Line segment AM, recall the symbol for corresponding. So we have the two-headed arrows here. Line segment AM corresponds to line segment IT, right? Here, IT. And another one, line segment MR, take note we have the markings here. That shows that the two sides here are congruent or corresponding sides. So line segment MR corresponds to line segment TN, okay? And then, if the two sides here, take note, this side corresponds to this side, and this side here corresponds to this side. And the included angle here between the two sides, okay, corresponds to an included angle of this triangle. Meaning, angle M here corresponds to angle T. Okay? So, if we have two sides, two corresponding sides, or two sides corresponds to another two sides of another triangle, and their included angles, and this included angle here corresponds to this angle, meaning we can say now that triangle MAR is congruent to triangle TIN. Okay? By what postulate? So by the SAS congruence postulate. So we have side, this side, and then the included angle here and this side. So we have here the SAS congruence postulate. Okay? Are you following? Are you
Yes po,
following?
sir.
Okay. So one postulate that we can use to prove that the two triangles are congruent is the SAS congruence postulate. So kung meron na tayong dalawang side and their included angle corresponds to two sides and included angle of another triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. Okay? That is by SAS congruence postulate, or we can simply call it SAS postulate. Let's have this one. Figure 2. What are the corresponding sides here? Jeffany, can you tell me the two corresponding sides here? We have
Line
line segment,
P, line segment P and O.
line segment, make louder please.
Line segment PO, sir.
PO, okay. Line segment PO, then
And line
corresponds
segment
to
corresponds to line segment EN.
EN, okay.
I
Yes, tama ba?
EN, sir.
EN, yes. Observe the markings. What else?
Line segment
Line segment
BN and line segment
corresponds. Line segment BN
corresponds to
corresponds
line segment K.
to line segment OK. Okay? And
Line segment
we need one more information in order for us to conclude that the two triangles are congruent by SAS postulate. What is that?
line segment PK.
Line segment. Take note, PK has no markings here, so we cannot assume that this side is congruent to this side. We should be very particular sa markings. SAS, di ba? SAS, side, angle, side. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng SAS postulate, di ba? Dalawang side, tapos sa gitna nila yung angle. What is that? So we have two sides here. Included angle. What is the included angle here? Ang nakapagitan na angle sa dalawang side. What's that? We have angle N corresponds to what angle? What included angle of another triangle?
The angle O, sir.
Angle O. Okay, that's it. So we have now two sides of this triangle, and the included angle here corresponds to another two sides of this triangle and its included angle. Therefore, we can now say the triangle E and B, okay, triangle E and B is congruent, okay, is congruent to triangle. So we have to take note here the corresponding parts. We have triangle P O K. Okay. Are you following?
Yes po.
Okay. That's it. Then let's proceed. So let's try this one. Identify the following in triangle ACE. Number 1, included side of angle A and angle C. What is the included side of angle A and angle C? Anybody?
Side AC po, sir.
Side AC. Okay? So we have here side. Let me change the color of my pen. So we have side AC. Side AC or CA. Both are correct. Number 2, included angle of line segment AC and line segment EC.
Angle C po.
Angle C. Okay? Good. Then, number 3, included side of angle C and angle E. We have
Side CE, sir.
side CE or EC. Then, number 4, included angle of line segment AE and line segment CE.
Angle E po.
Angle
E,
E.
sir.
Okay? Then, number 5, opposite angle of line segment CE.
Angle A po.
Angle A. Opposite we haven't discussed that earlier, but I think that's quite easy to understand. Parang madali lang naman naintindihan. Opposite meaning yung kabila niya. Yung kabila. So, kung ito yung side, ang opposite niya, yung kabila niya doon sa ito, angle A. Opposite side of angle C. What's the opposite side of angle C? Anyone?
Side AE po.
Side or line segment?
AE.
AE. Alright? So it seems that you already understand that the terms here included angle, included side, and then opposite angle and opposite side. Am I right?
Yes po, sir.
The concepts included angle, included side, and then opposite side and opposite angle. Okay, that's it. Let's move on now to the ASA congruence postulate. Earlier we have the SAS. This time we have the ASA congruence postulate. Meaning, given two angles and included side naman. Earlier, two sides included angle. This time, two angles included side. Okay. So we have here triangle AYJ and triangle ELM. So what are the two angles corresponds to another two angles of another triangle? So we have here angle A. So let me answer this first. So we have angle A here corresponds to angle E here. Then angle J. So we have angle J here corresponds to angle M. So try to look at the markings. And then angle A and angle J, the included side or the side between these two angles is side AJ. So line segment AJ or side AJ corresponds to the included side of triangle ALM. So side EM. So line segment AJ or side AJ corresponds to side EM. Since two angles and their included sides correspond to another two angles and included side of another triangle, so we can now say that triangle AYJ is congruent to triangle ELM. Okay? So you might ask, is it possible to name the triangle JYA? Yes, both are correct. As long as by naming the triangle, we consider their corresponding parts. Okay, kung dito tayo nag-start sa J, we need to start here from M also. Okay? Hindi pwede yung J tapos sa E ka nag-start. J and E are not corresponding side, or corresponding part rather, corresponding angle. So J corresponds to, angle J corresponds to angle M. So kung dito tayo nag-start sa J, we have to start here from M also. Are you following?
Yes po.
Okay, so that's ASA congruence postulate. So let's have this one. So given figure 4, so prove that the two triangles are congruent by SAS congruence postulate. So determine the two congruent angles and the two congruent angles and the included side. So let's start here from, or maybe I'll ask Sheena, can you give the two angles and the included side?
Angle L corresponds to angle F.
Okay. Angle L corresponds to angle F. Okay. Correct. Then
Angle I corresponds to angle E.
angle I corresponds to angle E. Then
Line segment LI corresponds to line segment FE.
okay, line segment LI corresponds to line segment what's that?
FE.
FE. And then what's the conclusion?
Triangle EF corresponds to triangle FEL.
Okay, therefore these three dots here means therefore. So therefore, triangle, come again. Triangle,
Triangle LIF corresponds to triangle FEL.
so triangle LIF is congruent to triangle FEL. Since the two angles and their included sides are congruent, are corresponding parts, therefore we can now conclude that triangle LIF and triangle FEL are two congruent triangles. Okay? So that's it for the ASA congruence postulate. Let's proceed to the third postulate here. We have the SSS congruence postulate. Please read, Daniel. Is Daniel around? Daniel Sakapanyo.
Yes, sir.
Please read the SSS congruence postulate.
The congruence postulate says as then if the three sides of one triangle are congruent to the three sides of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent.
Okay, so this time, we have three sides naman. So if three sides of one triangle are congruent to the three sides of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So madali lang naman siyang intindihin, di ba? Kung ang tatlong side ng isang triangle ay congruent doon sa three sides din ng isa pang triangle, therefore the two triangles are congruent by SSS congruence postulate. So what are the three sides here in triangle PAR? So we have side PA corresponds to side. We can read this as side or line segment if we are referring to a geometric figure side. Pero kung line lang siya, so we need to mention talaga yung line segment. So line segment PA or side PA corresponds to line segment TE. And then line segment PR corresponds to line segment TY. And line segment AR corresponds to line segment EY. So if the three sides, according to SSS congruence postulate, if the three sides of triangle PAR is congruent to the three sides of triangle TEY, therefore, triangle PAR is congruent to triangle TEY. Okay? Understood? Are you following, class?
Yes, po, sir.
Yes po, sir.
Okay. Then, let's have this one. Figure 8. So, given triangle PON and triangle MON. Who can name the three congruent sides of two triangles? Of the two triangles. The first one we have side. Anybody? Look at the markings. Same marking means corresponding part.
Side PO and MO, sir.
Side PO and
MO.
MO. Okay, side PO or line segment PO corresponds to line segment or side MO. Okay, correct? What else? So we need three sides to conclude that the two triangles are congruent by SSS. Another side is we have side, anyone?
Side PN.
Side PN, okay, correspond to what side?
Corresponds to side MN.
Side MN, okay? And we need one more. What side? What side?
PM, sir.
We have
PM.
PN,
PM.
PM. PM is not a side. Take note. take note if we're going to separate the two triangles, di ba? Triangle PON and triangle MON. Another way to look at this figure is to draw them separately. I-drawing nyo sila ng bukod. Observe na ang triangle PON and triangle PON have a common side. Meron silang parehong side. What is that side?
Line segment O
Side
and
F.
Line segment ON. Ito yung pangatlo nilang side na pareho. Okay? Ito yung ano nila, side na pareho. Kasi kung i-drawing natin yan, ganito. Ayan o. ON. Tapos, ang isang side naman, ayun. May ON ka rin dito. Diba? Meaning, we are talking about the same side and we know for a fact that anything is equal to itself. Recall the property, di ba? Can you still recall the axiom? Anything is equal to itself. Natandaan nyo? What property is that? Is it reflexive, symmetric? What property?
reflexive property.
Reflexive property. That is reflexive property. That meaning anything is equal to itself. So line segment ON corresponds to the side itself. Kasi parehong side sila, common side. Okay? So therefore, three sides are congruent now. So we can now conclude that triangle PON is congruent to triangle MON. Oh, triangle here. Triangle MON. I'm sorry I take time to write kasi dito lang ako sa touchpad nagsusulat. Okay? So that's it for the SSS congruence postulate. Understood?
Yes po.
Okay. Do you have any question or clarification? Naiintindihan naman so far?
Yes po.
Okay. So, i-review natin ulit. Let's try to generalize everything we had discussed about the postulates that we can use to prove that the two triangles are congruent. So, we have SAS, meaning two sides and their included angle. If the two sides and included angle corresponds to another two sides and angle of another triangle, therefore the two triangles are congruent. That is by SAS, congruence postulate. And for the ASA, if two angles and the included side is congruent to another two angles and included side of another triangle, therefore the two triangles are congruent by the ASA postulate. And the third one, we have the SSS congruence postulate. If the three sides of a triangle is congruent to another three sides of another triangle, therefore, the two triangles are congruent by the SSS postulate. And lastly, we have the SAA. We haven't discussed this yet, right? The SAA or SSA congruence postulate. So, well, madali lang naman siya. Not side tapos the two angles and non-included side. Kung meron tayong dalawang magkasunod na angle dito, let's say we have this angle and then this angle, tapos non-included side. Hindi dapat nasa pagitan ng dalawang angle. It's either this side or this side. So if we have two angles, a non-included side is congruent to another two angles and non-included side of a triangle. Therefore, the two triangles are congruent by the SSA congruence postulate. Are you following? Naiintindihan? Yes. So that's for the congruence postulates that we can use to prove that the two triangles are congruent. Well, anyway, you have to take note, class, that the SSA congruence is not a postulate. It is a theorem. Okay, take note the SSA is not a postulate but a theorem. The three postulates are the SAS, the ASA, and the SSS. But the SAA or the SAA is a congruence theorem. Okay, let's try this one. So, number one, let's do the markings here. Side AO is congruent to side um, JG. And AC here, this is how we prove kapag walang markings yung triangles or any figure, we do the markings ourselves. Then, we have line segment AC and JL. Tayong gagawa ng markings based from the given. And line segment OC, so therefore we have here 3 markings, and then is congruent to line segment LG. So what postulate we can use to prove that the two triangles are congruent?
The SSS congruence postulate, sir.
Yes, very good. The SSS congruence postulate. How about the others? Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes po.
Let's have number 2. We have angle C is congruent to angle L here. Then line segment AC or side AC is congruent to line segment JL. And side OC here is congruent to side GL. So what postulate or theorem we can use to prove that the two triangles are congruent?
Postulate SAS po.
SAS congruence postulate. Okay, that's correct. Very good. You're a fast learner. Fast learner, ah. Okay, number 3. Given angle A is congruent to angle J, then angle O here is congruent to angle G, and line segment AO is congruent to line segment JG. So what congruence postulate or theorem? Anyone?
ASA congruence postulates po, sir.
ASA congruence postulate. Okay? Two angles and included side. Ay, hindi natin sinagutan dito kanina, no? We have here S, S, S. Ano nga dito kanina? Number 2,
SA, sir.
S,
AS.
AS. And
AS.
number 3, we have,
ASA, sir.
yes, we have the ASA or ASA congruence postulate. Okay? Let's proceed to number 4. Number 4, angle A is congruent to angle G. So angle A is congruent to angle G. Angle C is congruent to angle L. Let's make it fast, a little bit fast.
Yes,
Faster.
sir.
This time, kasi magagahal tayo sa time. Then, number 4, line segment OC is congruent to line segment JL. Answer?
SA.
Congruent ASA, sir.
SAA. Tama ba? SAA theorem. It's not a postulate, but a theorem. Next, number 5. Angle O. Angle O is congruent to angle G. Then, side OC is congruent to side LG. And angle C is congruent to angle L. So what congruence postulate?
SAS po. Ay, ASA po.
ASA. Okay, ASA. Next, number 6. So number 6, we have side AO here is congruent to side JG, and then side AC is congruent to side JL here, and angle A is congruent to angle J. So what congruence postulate?
SAS.
SAS. Okay, so that's it. It seems that you have a better understanding now of the three postulates and one theorem that we discussed earlier. So let's proceed. Well, actually, these are the answers earlier. Kindly take a screenshot so that you will have something to review on.
Number 4, sir, dapat theorem.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. It's theorem. Shall we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's have this one. Check whether the triangles are congruent. Then, tell whether the congruence postulate used is SAS, the ASA, or SSS. Number one. Kahit sino lang.
ASA postulate, sir.
ASA postulate. Okay? Then, I think we need not to discuss this further. Number two.
SSS postulate, sir.
Okay. Mga fast learner yung mga estudyante ko ngayon. Number three.
SSS postulate.
Okay, SSS postulate still. Additional information class. Earlier, we have a common side. This time naman, we have a common angle. Kapag ganito, ayan o, itong angle na to pareho to sila. This is what we call vertical angles. And we know for a fact that vertical angles are congruent parati yan. Okay? Kapag ganun baliktaran yung angles, congruent yan sila. Let's say this is angle O. So that means we can state that angle O is congruent to angle O by reflexive property. That's the reason. If you scanned your modules, you can see there that we have two-column proof for statements and reasons. So if you need this part, for example, to prove that the two triangles are congruent, then you need to state that angle O is congruent to angle O itself. And then reason, that's by reflexive property. Understood? Naintindihan?
Yes po.
Yes.
Yes.
And let's have number 4.
Postulate SAS.
ASA postulate.
Yes po.
Okay. ASA postulate. ASA postulate. What if, di ba, common side siya here. Meron dito. Dagdagan natin. Aside from ASA, what another postulate or theorem we can use to prove that the two triangles are congruent?
The SAA congruence theorem, sir.
The what?
SAA, sir.
Is it SAA?
SAS po.
Pwede. SAA, yes. We can use SAA theorem. Meron pang iba? Meron pang iba? How about this one? This side, angle, and this side.
SAS po.
SAS. Another, some more examples. Number 5. What postulate or theorem?
SAS.
SAS. Okay. What if, dagdagan ko dito, since the two are vertical angles, we have
AS. ASA.
ASA and
SAA po.
SAA. Okay. And then, let's have number 6.
SAS po.
Is it SAS?
ASA, sir.
ASA. Tignan maigi. ASA. What if I will add another information here? Since they have a common side.
SAA po.
S.
SAS, sir.
Yes, we can use SAA. What else? And
SAS.
AS. Next, number 7. Number 7. At first glance, it seems that the information is not enough. Insufficient yung information. Hindi sapat. However, try to look at the figure carefully. Is there is there additional information we could have aside from the two angles?
There is a congruent side, sir.
Common side. Is that what you mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this side. Di ba? They have a common side here. So with this additional information, I think we can now say that the two triangles are congruent by what postulate?
ASA po.
ASA. Aba, gumagaling na kayo Number 8. So you need to remember this postulates and theorem because we will be needing these informations in proving or to prove that the triangles are congruent. Number 8.
SAS po, sir.
SAS. Okay? That's it. So, before we proceed to our next topic, Module 5. Module 4 pa lang yun Module 5, solving corresponding parts of congruent triangles. Dito parang mas bloody ng konti. Because we need to solve for the unknown measure or measures of parts of triangle, either angle or side. Is there any or do you have any question or clarification about Module 4, about the ASA, SAS, SSS, and we have the SAA theorem? So if there's none, so I think we'll proceed to our next module, solving corresponding parts of congruent triangles. Would that be okay?
Yes po.
Okay. So for module 5, you're expected to identify corresponding parts of congruent triangles. Well, similar to what we did earlier. Number 2, name congruent triangles. Yes, I think you are really good at it. Number 3, find the measure of corresponding parts of congruent triangles. So I think we will dig deeper on number 3 and number 3. Well, let's see if we can discuss further number 4. Relate triangle congruence to real life situations. This one, given triangle ROS is congruent to triangle CAN. So you are asked to solve for X. So to solve for this one, you have to start from the given. Okay? So first step, identify the given and the markings. Okay? So let's identify first the corresponding parts based on the markings. So we have here angle R, kasi angle R ang may given dito So angle R here is congruent to what angle?
Angle C po.
Angle C. Take note the marking or the markings rather. So we have here angle C. Then we have angle O, another given, merong value siya dito. So we have angle O is congruent to angle what?
Angle A.
Angle A.
Angle A. Why do we need to do this? Take note that congruent parts have the same measure. Kapag sinabi natin congruent, pareho ang kanilang measurement or sukat. So that is why it is very necessary or crucial that we need to identify first the known or the given fact. And what else? Meron pa ba? Tignan natin. If angle R is congruent to angle C, and angle R here is 30 degrees, that means angle C is also 30 degrees. Am I right? Or are you following?
Yes po, sir. Yes po.
Okay? And angle O is congruent to angle A, and angle O is 110 degrees. Therefore, angle A is 110 degrees as well. Right?
Yes po.
Okay. So, I think we have sufficient information now to solve for x here. So, ibig sabihin ng sufficient, sapat na yung information natin para mahanap natin yung value ng x. But in real life, pag yung hanapin yung mga x's nyo ha, and don't ask why, sabi nila. Okay, that's only for commercial. So how do we solve this? Hindi sila tumawa. So how do we solve this? So sa triangle class, you need to remember the concept. Sa triangle class, kapag inad natin yung tatlong angles na to, eto, interior angles, three interior angles of a triangle is always equal to 180 degrees. Do you follow? Naintindihan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes po.
So, ang tatlong angles ng triangle, kapag inad natin, will always be equal to 180 degrees. So, that's what you need to remember when solving unknown angle or unknown measure of an angle. So, since we are looking for the measure of angle n, so that means we have here angle n plus measure of angle n. Kaya na, lagyan natin ng m. And measure of angle C plus measure of angle A, kapag inad natin yung tatlo na yan, be equal to 180 degrees. And, so measure of angle N, unknown siya. So, sulat pala natin, angle N pa rin. What is measure of angle C? Here, 30 degrees. And then, substituting the given, measure of angle A, we have 110 degrees, is equal to 180 degrees. Then, let's simplify. Measure of angle N, combine 30 and 110, we have 140 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Then, we are looking for the value of angle N, so we need to transpose 140 to the right. Or by additive inverse, we need to subtract 140 from the left and 140 from the right. So we have here, measure of angle N is equal to 180 degrees, transpose 140 to the right, so that becomes negative 140. Next, we have 180 minus 140 is 40 degrees. Okay? Therefore, measure of angle N or X dyan sa figure, pero we can use measure of angle N is equal to 40 degrees. Are you following?
Yes po, sir.
Okay? So that's how we find the missing value of angle N. Well, try to check. Kapag inad mo yung 40 plus ito yung 40 na to plus 30 ito plus 110, magkakaroon ba tayo ng 180 degrees? If it's correct, then your answer is correct. Understood?
Yes po. Yes po.
Okay? How about this one? Find the values of x and y. So given the figure, we have there triangle BAC. So drawing not to scale, meaning hindi natin pwedeng sukatin yung drawing na yan because hindi yan yung actual na na representation. It's not drawn to scale. So find x daw. And then y. We have here, what type of triangle do we have here? Anong type ng triangle meron tayo dito? So the marking here indicates that the two sides are congruent, right? Tama ba? Tama? So if the two sides are congruent, that means we have an isosceles triangle. Di ba? isosceles triangle. An isosceles triangle, meaning if the two sides are congruent, the base angles are congruent. Base angles, yung sa ilalim niya, ito. Two sides, sa isosceles triangle, the two sides are congruent. That means the base angles are also the same or congruent. So meaning pareho yung measure ng angle na to, tsaka ito. This is also 53 degrees. Well, the problem is, wala tayo dito na enough na information here. Kasi enough na marking. Only if sana kung meron ditong eto ganito dito. Meron ditong marking na ganito. Kapag meron tayong marking na ganito, that means we have a right triangle. Okay? Right triangle. And this line segment AD is perpendicular to line segment BC. Kapag sinabi nating perpendicular, it forms a right angle. Kapag sinabi nating right angle, meaning ang measure niya is 90 degrees. So meaning, kung meron tayong markings dito na 90, let me check muna sa module niyo yata to, sa module niyo to kinuha ko eh. Kaya nga I'm wondering kung may markings dito kasi we cannot assume na perpendicular sila dito. Right angle. Maliban lang kung binigay na line segment AD is perpendicular, may ganitong symbol given to line segment BC. Kapag perpendicular, then we can now conclude that the two angles here are right angles, 90 degrees. Okay? So, assuming na lang. So, let's assume that AD is perpendicular to line segment BC. That means, kapag perpendicular, the two angles here form a right angle, which is 90 degrees. So, pareho itong 90 degrees. That means our x here is 90 degrees. So, x is equal to 90 degrees. So, if x is equal to 90 degrees, so we can solve for y. Okay? Masosolve natin yung y dito. Again, let's go back from the idea that when three interior angles of a triangle, of any triangle, when added is equal to 180 degrees. So therefore, we have y plus 90 degrees and then plus 53 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Okay? Then, we have here y. Combine 90 and 50. So we have 140 degrees, which is equal to 180 degrees. Then, to solve for y, transpose 180 degrees to the right. So we have 140. Then, 180 minus 140. So we have 40 degrees. So therefore, y is equal to 40 degrees. Are you following? Naintindihan? Do you follow, class?
Sir, 52 degrees, di ba yun?
Ay, 53 degrees. I'm sorry. It's my bad. 53 degrees. Masyado nagmamadali. Okay, let me correct myself. It's 53 degrees. So 90 plus 53 is 143. Tama ba?
Opo, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So 153. Baka hindi na ako marunong mag-add. 53. 143. So meaning eto 143. O ba't yellow-green pa yung napili ko? So 143. So meaning 180 minus 143 here. So borrow from 8, this becomes 7, this becomes 10. So we have 7 and we have 37 degrees. Okay? So 37 degrees. Nakuha?
Yes po, sir.
Okay. So, thank you. Let's have this one. Solve for x. If triangle DNA is congruent to triangle DMO, if the length of DN equals 2x plus 6 and TM equals 5x minus 3. So, DN daw is 2x plus 3. So, ilagay natin dito. 2x plus 3. Then, TM is 5x minus 3. So, we are going to solve for x. The question is, how are we going to solve for x? So, take note that the two triangles are said to be...
Sir, 2x plus 6 po.
Ay, ano ba yan? Apat na nga yung mata ko ay. Blue. So, 2x plus 6. Okay, thank you. So, again, triangle DNA is congruent to triangle TMO. And the fact that DN, or side DN here, corresponds to side TM. Corresponds, meaning that two sides are congruent. Pareho ang kanilang measure or measures. So, DN is congruent to side TM. So, based from this fact, or facts rather, kapag sinabi natin congruent, pareho ang kanilang measures. Right? So, since congruent sila, we can equate 2x plus 6 is equal. Equal din siya sa 5x minus 3. Understood? Nakuha? Do you
Yes
follow?
po.
Okay. Then, combine like terms. Iko-combine natin yung parehong terms. Or para mas madali yata, i-ano natin sila. Symmetric property. Baliktarin natin. By symmetric property, we have 5x minus 3 is equal to 2x plus 6. Why do we have to do this? Kasi to avoid negative variable. Kasi kapag tinranspose natin yung 5x dito, 2x minus 5x magiging negative. Well, that's still correct. Pero some of you might find it confusing, most especially dealing with negative numbers. So we have here 5x transpose 2x to the left. So we have negative 2x equals 6. So transpose 3 to the right. That becomes plus 3. So take note, when transposing numbers, nagiging opposite yung sign. So 5x minus 2x, we have here 3x, is equal to 6 plus 3, we have 9. Then, we are looking for the value of x, so we need to divide both sides by 3. Okay? So therefore, x is equal to 9 divided by 3 is, that's it. So x is equal to 3. But this is not yet the final answer because we need to find the length of dn and tm. So after this, substitute 3 for x. So therefore, we have dn, side dn is equal to 2, and our x is equal to 3. Substitute 3 for x, and then plus 6. So 2 plus 3 is equal to 6, plus 6, and then 6 plus 6 is equal to 12. Therefore, line segment DN is equal to 12 units. Take note kung walang nakaspecify na units, for example, centimeters, meter, or feet, inches, so we need to write units, the word units. So 12 units yung DN na to. Since they are congruent, therefore, TM is also 12 units. So line segment TM is also 12 units. Do you follow? Understood, class?
Yes po, sir.
Okay? Hopefully, nasusundan nyo as I've said earlier, feel free to ask question or clarification if you can't follow our discussion. Kasi, as I've said, we have to make the best out of our discussion and your data. So, it's meaningless na nagpe-pretend tayo na nasusundan natin, which in fact, uh, hindi. Okay? So, let's be honest. Para ma-explain na maigi. Okay ba? Okay na? Understood?
Opo, yes po.
Okay? Then, how about this one? Mukhang marami ako ditong provide na example for better understanding. So, given triangle PRE is congruent to triangle ATS. If angle A is equal to 5x minus 7 degrees, find x, measure of angle A, and measure of angle E. So, it's somewhat similar to what we discussed earlier. Okay? Observe the markings. So angle R, let's start with first, the given. Angle R is congruent to corresponds to angle T here. Therefore, angle R is congruent to angle T. So if angle R is congruent to angle T, that means an angle R is 82 degrees. Therefore, this is also 82 degrees. Then, measure, according to the given, measure of angle A is 5x minus 7 degrees. So, ang A natin dito, here, lagyan natin dito, is 5x minus 7 degrees. So, meron na tayong tatlo, di ba? Okay? So, meron na tayo ditong tatlo. That means eto, 5x ano rin to? 5x minus 7. Similar sila. Kasi, observe the markings here. Angle A is congruent to angle P. So, eto lang yung may tatlong given. Again, from the idea that the three interior angles of a triangle, when added, it will always be equal to 180 degrees. So, therefore, we have angle S plus angle A plus angle T is equal to 180 degrees. And then, substituting the values we have, angle S is 50 degrees. Substitute lang natin. So, 50 degrees plus angle A is eto, 5x minus 7. And angle T is 82 degrees. So, it depends on you kung anong unahin nyo It does not necessarily follow na angle S talaga yung una. You can start with angle A or angle T. Depende yan sa inyo. So, 180 degrees. Again, combine similar terms. So, we have here 50 degrees and 7 and 82. So, rewrite lang muna natin yung 5x. Okay? Kasi wala naman tayong i-add sa kanya. And then, 50. Let's add first 82 and 50 since they are both positive. 82 plus 50 is what? 132, right? 132. And then, minus 7 kasi negative. So, borrow from 3, this becomes 2, this becomes 12. Yes? Tama ba?
125.
I'm sorry. Okay. Di na ako marunong mag-add. Tuloy. 182 plus 50 is... Tama ba? 82 plus 50 is equal to 2... Wala, tama ay. Di ba? Minus 7. Minus 7 na yung sabi mo. Okay, 125. So we have 5x here plus 125 is equal to 180 degrees. For the benefit of the others, So we need to show the computations, okay? And then 5x is equal to transpose 125 to the right side. So minus, that becomes minus 125, okay? So 180 minus 25 is equal to what?
55.
55. Ang galing-galing ay. 55 degrees. Then, divide both sides by 5. Then, cancel this out. Then, x is equal to 11. Therefore, x is 11. So, x pa lang yan ha. We haven't find the value of angle A yet. So, x is 11. So, what we're going to do is substitute 11 for x to solve for angle A. So, that means measure of angle A, if x is 11, therefore, we have 5 times 11, okay, use parentheses to denote multiplication, minus 7 is equal to, so 55 minus 7, the answer is what? 11 degrees. 55 minus 7, we have 15, so we have 48 degrees. Am I correct? Is it 48 degrees?
Yes po, sir.
Okay. So if angle A is 48 degrees and angle A is congruent to angle P, what is the measure of angle P?
48 degrees din, sir.
Yes, 48 degrees din siya. So if P is angle P is 48 degrees, what is measure of angle E? So ganun din, gawin din natin. Measure of angle E plus measure of angle P plus measure of angle R is equal to what?
50 degrees po.
Hindi. Measure of angle E plus measure of angle P plus measure of angle R is equal to what?
180 degrees po.
180 degrees. Okay? And measure of angle E is unknown. Yan yung hinahanap natin. So, rewrite. Just copy. Measure of angle P is 48 degrees. So, we need to show the solution. Plus, measure of angle R is 82 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Combine 48 and 82. What's the answer?
130 po.
130 is equal to 180 degrees. And then transpose 130 to the right. So that means 180 minus 130 is equal to what?
50 degrees.
50 degrees. So therefore, measure of angle E is equal to 50 degrees. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
How about this one? So the figure at the right shows that triangle BOE is congruent to triangle TXE. Solve for x and find angle EOB. So angle EOB, meaning ang hinahanap ay angle O. Kung ano ang nasa gitna, ito ang hinahanap, angle O. Okay, again, start tayo sa given and observe the markings. Angle B and angle T are congruent angles. Therefore, this is also 2x minus 5. Okay? The problem is we're going to look for the measure of angle O. But at first glance, again, it seems that the given is not enough. However, take note that etong angle na to, angle E here, and angle E are vertical angles. Right? When we say vertical angles, the angles are congruent or the same. So if that's the case, we can equate 4x by reflexive property, the angles are congruent. So we can equate 4x minus 2 is equal to 3x plus 23. Since pareho sila ng sukat, equal sila. So we can equate 4x minus 2 equals 3x plus 23. Then, solve for x by combining like terms. Transpose 3x to the left, that becomes negative 3x. Then, transpose negative 2 to the right, that becomes positive 4x minus 3 is simply x. Okay, meaning 4 minus 3 is 1. But we are no longer writing 1 as a numerical coefficient. So therefore, we can simply write it as x. And then 23 plus 2 is equal to 25. So we have now the value of x, which is equal to 25. If x is equal to 25, we can now solve for the angles here. Substitute 25 rather for x. So angle B, measure of angle B is equal to 2 times 25 minus 5 is equal to 2 times 25 is 50 minus 5 is equal to 45 degrees. We are talking about the angles and the unit is degrees. So we need to specify the degree, the unit rather, which is degrees. So measure of angle B is equal to 45 degrees. And measure of angle E is simply equal to 4, substitute 25 for x again, kasi ang x natin is 25 minus 2. Then 4 times 25, so we have 20, we have 8, 9, 10. 4 25s. So we have 100. And then 100 minus 2 is equal to 98 degrees. That's it. But we are looking for the measure of angle O. We are not yet done. So kung isusulat natin ulit yung triangle, ang E, tapos ang B, tsaka O. So ang B natin is 45 degrees. Ayun, 45 degrees to.
Sir?
Lagyan, yes.
Sa measure of angle E po, sir, 98 po dapat natin, sir.
Measure of angle E is
90 po, sir.
98. 98 tama? Oh, I'm sorry again.
Opo.
Bakit 19? Di ko na subtract pala, no? Okay, thank you. So it should be 90. Masyado ako excited kasi. So, hindi pala tama yung ginawa natin earlier, no? So, dapat 98 to. It's not a right triangle. Yan. I'm sorry. So, this is 98 degrees. Kaya naman pala. So, 98 plus 45. So, 45 plus 98. Anong sagot? 13. 13, so 143. Tama ba ako? 143 class?
Tama po, sir.
Okay. So this is 143 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. So therefore, measure of angle O, transpose yung 143 to the right, that becomes minus 143. So 180 minus 143, what's the answer? 140.
37 po.
We have,
37.
okay, 7 and 30. Okay, 37 degrees. So we have 37 degrees. So measure of angle O is equal to 37 degrees. Okay, are you following?
Yes po.
Okay. So last na lang siguro class, and then pero hindi natin na-discuss yung module 6. Sabi ko nga, masyadong marami. Last na lang siguro. So, given triangle PQR is congruent to triangle STU. Okay? This time, side naman yung unknown. Side naman yung unknown dito. Tignan natin yung corresponding sides. Kung saan yung corresponding side. So, sa pagkaka-state dito, triangle PQR ST. So, side PQ, ang side PQ dito is congruent to what side? ST, di ba? Ayun. Ito. ST. Kailangan tignan natin maigi 'yon. So therefore, if the two sides are congruent, equal yung measure nila. So we can equate. 4x minus 5 is equal to 3x plus 30. So, combine like terms, 4x transpose 3x to the left, that becomes negative 3x equals 30. Transpose negative 5 to the right, that becomes plus 5. 4x minus 3x, so we have x is equal to 30 plus 5, 35. Okay? Units, 35 units. So meaning, x is equal to 35 units. However, that's not yet the final answer. Substitute 35 for x. Ito. So meaning line segment PQ is equal to 4x minus 5, where x is equal to 35. So substitute mo 4 times 35 minus 5 equals, so 35 times 4 times 35. So we have 20 here. Then 12, 140. Tama ba? Verify the computation, class. And we have 140 minus 5 is equal to 135. Tama? 135 units. Tama ba? Is my computation correct? So 125 units ang line segment PQ. Tama ba, class?
Tama po, sir.
Okay, so 135 units. So don't forget to write units. Then, that means this is also 135. And QR here corresponds to side TU. So QR and TU. So pwede nating equate din yon. So 5x minus 35 equals 4x. So therefore, 5x transpose 4x to the left, so that becomes minus 4x, and then transpose 35 to the right, that becomes positive 35. So x therefore is equal to 35. Okay? Units. And solve mo na dito. So QR. So QR, line segment QR or side QR is equal to 5x minus 35, where x is equal to 35. So pareho lang din naman yung measure ng x, ha, as you can see. Verify lang natin yung ano niya, yung computation niya. Yung value, kung consistent. So 5 times 35, we have 25 carried to 15, 175 minus 35, and 175 minus 35 is 140 units. Tama ba? So this is 140. 140. So meaning eto, substitute mo lang din yung 35. Yung PR tsaka S, tama ba? SU ang pareho. So 4 times 35, I'm sorry, line segment PR is equal to 4 times 35, diniretso ko na, minus 10. So 4 times 35, so we have 20 here, 12, 13, 14, 140 minus 10 is equal to 130. So therefore, this is 130 and this is also 100. Do you follow? Nakuha na sundan, class?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
There might be some error in our computations as we are in a hurry. Para nagmamadali tayo because we have a lot to discuss. But if you have any question or clarification, you can actually message me or feel free to message me. Okay? If you have any question or clarification regarding our computations. Is that clear? Okay ba, class?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, so maybe we're going to leave proving congruence of triangles tomorrow. Okay, so I think we discussed a lot. Let's call it a day. Thank you for attending our online class. Stay safe and have a good day.
Thank you po, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
yes,
Thank you po, sir.
welcome.